Okay, I am going to call the meeting to order, and I would ask Village Clerk Schmidtke to take a roll call.
Trustee Borowski.
Here.
Trustee Crisler.
Here.
Trustee Micho. Trustee O'Connor. Here. Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Here. Trustee Kinichi.
Here.
All right, if we could all rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States Republic for
One nation, under God.
indivisible by all.
Justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. You don't want to see that up there? You want to see something better than that? Do we get the... We were watching TikTok, obviously, right before this, I guess, right? Yeah. All right, how about that? It works. All right, so if you don't mind, we have a special guest here tonight, and I'd like to move agenda item 18 up to the third place on the agenda. Are you okay with that? So,
Okay.
thank you. Mary Ann, thank you for being here tonight. I will say that over the weekend, my wife had your strawberry lemonade, and I understand that you squeezed the...
We make it from scratch with the labor of love.
Yeah.
A ton of them.
She loved it. So we saw Ryan on Friday night, and then I was hungry, and I was running a half marathon the next day, so we took it easy, and we went in and sat at the bar. My wife enjoyed lemonade. But the item on the agenda is consideration of resolution honoring the life and service of Charles Chip Ulrich, who passed away suddenly recently. And I'm going to read this, if you don't mind, out loud, and thank you for being here today. Whereas Charles Chip Ulrich was a longtime resident of Long Grove, owner of the renowned Village Tavern, and a highly respected community leader, active in the Lions Club, a benefactor to many local charities and a veteran activities. And whereas Charles Chip Ulrich possessed a deeply held belief in country, serving with honor in Vietnam as a member of the United States Marine Corps, and whereas Charles Chip Ulrich was proud of his community and country. These were second to the pride and love for his wife, Mary Ann, children, Charlie, Adam, Barrett, Tiffany, 4 grandsons, 3 brothers, 2 sisters. And whereas Charles Chip Ulrich was an institution in the Long Grove Historic Business District, instrumental in its revitalization and advocating for ideas that would increase commerce, notably and most recently the adding of the streetlights to the downtown. And whereas Charles Chip Ulrich was an auctioneer extraordinaire, musician, gifted artist, and fisherman with a passion for the sport that would rival any other. Some might call him a bit of a Renaissance man. And whereas Charles Chip Ulrich was one who saw a glass as half full and one to never lose faith, his perseverance was rewarded when in 2016, his beloved Chicago Cubs finally won the World Series. And whereas Charles Chip Ulrich was an individual whose love for family and friends and country was evidenced through life, well lived, and countless deeds that did not go unnoticed, nor will they be forgotten. Now therefore be it resolved that in gratitude for his substantive contributions to country, community, and the Long Grove Historic Downtown Business District, the Village of Long Grove and its over 8,300 residents honor the memory of Charles Chip Ulrich as a friend, and be it further resolved that the Village of Long Grove expresses its deepest condolences to the family and friends of Charles Chip Ulrich, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be presented to Mary Ann Ulrich on the occasion of the 60th anniversary celebration of the Ulrich family's ownership of the Village Tavern. Passed this day, June 28, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee O'Connor. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Trustee Chris Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Motion carried. Mary Ann, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we need a picture, yes. How do we get a picture here?
While you're getting set up for a picture, one thing I haven't heard anybody comment about with Chip is how many hundreds of kids he taught who work there and learn the work ethic, by God. And what an impression he had on the kids of Long Grove.
Oh, yeah. We've gone, some of the kids that work for him have gone on to be CEOs. I mean, just such a broad range of, you know, and continually come back.
But very accomplished, because they learned a big lesson when they were.
Yes.
Can we get the whole board up here? Ryan can take a picture. Can we do that? Would you mind? Thank you.
Between him and his mother.
I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it.
1, 3, 2, 4.
There are kids who appreciate it too.
Oh, no, we shouldn't.
Guys in the back, ladies in the front?
Yeah, maybe.
How do you want to do this? All right, how about this? Just take it over a little bit.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, 4, keep on smiling. All right, I'll send it all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to share some of the stories I heard in the celebration of life. There were some very interesting stories that I heard.
Your mother will be here to protect you.
Many more like that.
I will let share them.
I was thinking that the Wednesday, the kickoff Wednesdays would probably be the easiest time for everybody. You know, pick a time on that Wednesday, the fifth, I think. If you want to do it, I just talked to my brother-in-law, who would love to be, you know, Chip's brother, would love to come down, so there's a good time, just let me know, and we'll kind of let folks know, anybody want to be there, can be there.
Yep.
We'd love to be there, so let's figure it out.
Yep, we'll get everything coordinated.
Yeah.
I get to go home and take care of my 4.5-year-old grand. Thank you so much. I apologize for making this so short. It's just, you know.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
This happens and grandkids are important.
Okay, so, on the agenda next is homeowners associations, Fairfield Village. Athena, are you here tonight, anywhere? What about Jack, Demi's from the Lakes of Long Grove?
Blowing up.
What? Comment will be next. Yeah, always on the agenda, it's the next item. So we first give the HOA president, so there's no HOA presidents here tonight, so, all right, we'll keep moving. Now it's time for public comment. Does anyone have public comment this evening? And also I would ask the village clerk, did we receive any written public comment? Okay, all right, no written comment this week.
So obviously, we just had our Strawberry Fest, which we had a very successful Strawberry Fest. But also, I really want to talk about our fire department and our CERT team. We had a situation on Sunday, we had a gentleman that we weren't sure if it was a stroke or heart attack. At one point, we thought he passed away on site at the festival. But for the quick action of CERT and our fire department, I know he was by. I think he's great, he's okay, I think he's stable. So again, I think we should just reach out to we reached out in downtown to our fire department and CERT, but I think that as a village, I was told on the site that if this gentleman would have had this at home, he probably would not have had a chance at all because it was very quick. But the quick response we had from all parties was phenomenal. And again, I think it brings our brand of how we respond, how we react. So again, if you can at some point, if you just give a quick thank you to our fire department, I wish they were here to do publicly. But I think it's important because, again, how they respond to our fest, how they respond to our residents and to our businesses, it was phenomenal. So I just wanted to let you guys know what occurred and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being there too and saved the man's life, so,
It was a very emotional moment.
thank you.
Imagine.
Thanks for calling me on Sunday to let me know too, so, very surprising. I knew it probably was gonna be good news if you were giving me a call on a Sunday.
I didn't know, I thought I should have kept it.
No,
No,
thank you, thank you
Appreciate
for doing
it,
that.
appreciate it.
So, all right. Other public comment this evening? Any public comment from, folks that have joined via the Zoom? All right, I take that silence as no. So I'm gonna move on to the consent agenda. We're still trialing this, but as mentioned at the board meeting, this is a well-established procedure. Village board again tonight includes the consent agenda, which allows the village board to act on a series of actions that are either routine or non-controversial simultaneously. And so we're gonna try this again, the consent agenda tonight, and hope that we can handle our business more effectively. So there is a series of items that are in the consent agenda, and I would ask the trustees if they, want anything that they would like moved, or if somebody wants to make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, hold on a sec. So, all right, we have,
Yep. I don't want to pull anything out. I just want to find a way to have some time to discuss the noise issue. I don't know if we've ever had a resolution on what the right sound level is and, how we measure that or how we enforce it. I mean, obviously we can't solve that tonight, but, I think it's a big white elephant in the room down the road because, it's more and more utilization of that space and we have heard concerns from the residents. So, again, I don't have any objection to the consent agenda this evening. I just want to make sure we don't forget that we find a metric, a measurement, a process or something.
yeah, duly noted, and,
I-
go ahead, I was gonna make a comment, though. I did hear one thing, let me just real quick.
I'm sorry.
I did not get any complaints from the Blues Fest. So I'm just saying that, that no one said a word, so that was good. So I don't know how that was managed, but I got no complaints, so.
Even at the big festivals, our decibel level is normally about 103 to 104. On a typical venue, it's 114 to 115. So we did that study years ago. We said that's the number we want to maintain, because that was the one that Mundelein Palatine was using, that 114 to 115. So we've always tried to be about 10 points below that.
And you guys, I wasn't home this weekend, so I didn't get the festival, but, you've turned it, so it's now away from certain people. I hear it on Arlington Heights Road, but honestly, on a Saturday night, going till 10, 11, I'm cool.
The bass is way down, and that was always the key.
Mhm.
That boom, boom, boom.
Mhm.
So you get some of that music, but the bass was always the key, and that's what creates that high decibel.
I had, off of the comments at the last meeting, I had reached out to my colleagues in other communities to see what they had for what they call amplification ordinance. I've looked at a few of them. The one that I think would probably, has all the elements we want to see in an ordinance from Naperville. So I have that. The method they use to determining the level of music and sound is also included in there, so I'm starting to work that now. I believe it would be my recommendation that noise levels can be subjective by board to board and individual to individual, that something be codified, so that way it's something that's all agreed to and etched, if you will. So I'm working on that now. That and a couple other ordinances I'm looking to bring before the board probably in the next 6 months. I'll work with Vic on it as well, certainly.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, cell phones can measure dB levels, and if we define distances and sound pressure level at distances, I think it's great.
So this was moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer, and this is a roll call.
Can I think you take a
Oh, please, yes.
on this? Is how do we, you mentioned 104, 114. What does that sound like?
That's a good question. I would have to defer to experts on that. I have no ability.
I think it's less than a vacuum cleaner. Or about it.
Depends on what kind of vacation.
Indeed, indeed. Yes.
Weather, if there's humidity.
Yeah, humidity matters.
So based on the weather, the decibel level has a different effect, and that's what we learned when we did the same exercise with Dave
Mm-hmm.
years ago on what that weather had the effect. So on a clear day, it's gonna be broadcast farther, on a closer, so.
But what I'm saying is, I can't hang my hat on a number. I can only relate that number to a sound.
So we'll do a test in the board meeting, and we'll just,
You're about 70 right now.
Yeah, okay, she's got it.
Well, I could do better than that.
Yes, you can, you just did.
There's published charts that say for this sound pressure level, this is the equivalent. So it goes like from a whisper all the way up to like a jet engine and has a number
Okay.
associated.
Okay.
and we'll do that in a board meeting, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is, the difference between 114 and 104, it sounds like it's about 10%.
It's 10 times, it's 10 times,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys as a board have any comment, did anyone call with Strawberry Fest with music? Because we try to make sure we maintain levels. Was there any calls to the village on it?
That's what he said, yeah, no, none.
Not yet, anyway, so.
I wasn't sure.
Oh,
if there was
yeah.
any on-
No, I got nothing, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
So we again have a motion to approve, moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. It's a roll call.
Trustee O'Reilly?
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee Borowski?
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor? Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Keeping us moving along, we have the village planners report. Is there anything to report?
Taylor's here.
Taylor's on the video. Taylor, you want to give us a report?
Yeah, good evening. This is Taylor Wagering. Can you hear me okay?
We can. You're coming through loud and clear.
All right, excellent. Few items first before we move on to a PZCBA case. The upcoming July 5th PCZBA meeting has been canceled due to a lack of agenda items. There's going to be a AC Architectural Commission meeting on July 18th. We've got some new business signage or sign changes. We've got some single-family home construction projects and potentially a revisitation to the Olson Storage Facility on Route 53. And then July 19th is expected that we'll be holding a special meeting of the PCZBA. That is concerning Range USA petition. My understanding is that there's been a change of venue for that to accommodate expected larger crowd. And I guess that concludes the general summary here from the planner's report. If there's any general question, if there's no general questions about zoning topics, I'll move along to kind of this one case that we have before the board tonight.
Any
no.
any comments? No, nothing here. So keep going. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So tonight, before you.
Hold on a second. There's trustee Borowski has a comment.
I don't know if everybody's aware, Village of Mundelein approved an indoor shooting range at 83 and 60. So they just passed that this week or something like that, it was in the news. So I don't know what that.
They actually passed it, or they?
Taylor, did Mundelein pass the 8360 indoor range?
They had a concept. They had a concept presentation, which was generally a favorable reception from the Mundelein Village Board, but they have yet to submit a formal petition.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, keep proceeding, Taylor. Thank you.
So moving along, tonight before you is a consideration for a text amendment. This is a text amendment that would impact the temporary uses permitted within the HR Highway Retail Zoning District. The way the zoning ordinance is currently kind of crafted is such that it's really about one particular property, and that is the one at 2727 Route 53. This is the Geimer Greenhouse property. A little history of the site. In 1998, it was annexed into the Village of Long Grove. 2010, it was rezoned to HR, Highway Retail. This was about the time that an Arbor Grove planned unit development was proposed as a mixed-use redevelopment of the site. That kind of didn't pan out at that time. There were a couple of challenges, but 2015 came around, and that was when the board first considered a petition for a text amendment to permit certain temporary uses on the property. At that time, the zoning ordinance was amended so that these temporary uses could be permitted on the site, and it included an expiration date at which time those temporary uses would have to cease on the property. And that was at the time, December 31st, 2018. Then in 2017, there was an additional text amendment to allow for an additional use on the property, which was contractor's office, because there was a new prospective tenant. And they also extended the expiration date until December 31st, 2023. Then just in 2020, there was a third text amendment to allow for another type of user as a temporary use within the HR zoning district, and that was a pet daycare facility, which you guys know as Camp K9 today. So a few of the different types of uses that are permitted by this temporary use ordinance: you've got seasonal retail, self-storage, contractors' offices, entertainment facilities, equipment rental, seasonal retail, retail sales of alcoholic beverages, and then dog daycare and grooming. Currently at 2727 Route 53, you've got as tenants Conservation Landscape Service, Davy Tree, Camp K9, and Perfect Turf. So the owners of the property, they are petitioning for a text amendment to extend the expiration date of this ordinance. So it is something that would, in theory, be village-wide, because it's a text amendment to the formal zoning ordinance. But again, this is really site-specific. The way the ordinance was crafted is it's a particular type of geometry to a site and location within the village of a certain size and within the HR zoning district. So really, it only applies to this particular location. The petitioners originally requested a 36-month extension. And by the way, the current ordinance is set to expire on December 31st, 2023. So the petitioners originally were looking to a 36-month extension, which would take them to December 31st, 2026. Village staff advised them that a 18-month extension might be a little more palatable at this time, and that would put you to June 30th, 2025. The Plan Commission held a public hearing concerning this earlier in the month, and after deliberating amongst themselves, they made a favorable recommendation for the request. However, they did use the date of a 36-month extension. So the December 31st, 2026 date is what they recommended. So with that, I understand the petitioners are on this call as well. If there's any questions for them, but that concludes my summary.
Yeah, I see Dr. Levin here and Kurt Wandry here as well. They're the petitioners for this. Now that's the end of your report. If I can follow you. All right. So then the next item on the agenda is the consideration approval of an ordinance amending the section 5-9-3 of the Long Grove zoning code regarding temporary uses of the HR Highway Retail District. Petitioner, the property owner of the 2727 Route Illinois 53 property. So that's the next item on the agenda. I don't know if the village board wants to say anything, or does the petitioner want to have make a few comments here before we begin?
Well, I'll jump in. Kurt Wander here. Again, Taylor did a fine job making our presentation. The only add-on I could do to that is obviously COVID got in our way in terms of any long-term future plan that we were hoping for. Temporary uses are very good that are in there right now. I went online to check out Camp K9, and I was impressed by the number of positive reviews they're getting. I think they're having a nice stay there. The extension that the Planning Commission recommended, it would be good for us to pull our things together and hopefully we can bring you a final PUD for permanent zoning. But at the moment, temporary is working well for us.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, from an economic development standpoint, we look at the TIF district that's over there, and now we're pushing some activity into that Southgate TIF district. This falls in the TIF district. The staff believes that the 18-month time, which will extend them to beyond December 31st, so it's July of 25, would allow enough ample time to develop a PUD and bring it so we can get a sense of what kind of economic development. We need to turn around and know what businesses are going to complement what businesses in order to effectively execute economic development. You can't just hope by throwing, this is out there. We need a better sense if we're going to, if I'm going to meet with developers and look at soliciting business and having people interested to know what's going to be in that area. It doesn't mean that if progress in the next, after that 18-month is visible, that it can't be renewed for another 18 months. There's nothing saying that that would be the case. But I think that we also need to have the property owner aggressively work to develop that space. And that was our recommendation for the 18 months. Again, I can't speak to previous approaches by my predecessor, but from an economic development standpoint, you need to put the ducks in order so you can turn around and figure out how you're going to execute.
Yeah, we need to proactively target some ideas.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. The businesses that are there are good neighbors. We have not had a problem with any of those businesses, and they are good neighbors. So what we're asking for is not a reflection of the business that they do, but to get a better sense from Kurt and the property owner, what are you bringing to the table so we can go ahead and look at other economic development at Southgate TIF.
So I understand the staff's recommendations and the reasons for it. I also understand that the current business owners who are tenants of that property have invested considerable sums of money in the build-out, specifically Camp Canine, but the others as well. And by only extending it 18 months, we're introducing uncertainty into those business owners' lives. And yeah, we can extend it again, but there's always that uncertainty hanging over their head, that if it doesn't get extended, all that money they've spent, all that investment at that location is basically down the drain. So from the perspective of the business owner, I feel that a 36-month extension is appropriate. Can I just make one comment on that really quick too? Because when that business owner did go into business, they knew that there was an expiry date on the temporary uses for that property. So by extending it, we've actually moved it along even further. And we're not signaling to that business owner that we don't appreciate their business. Right. We're just saying that we want to have a complete plan in place, and by having that deadline, it gives something to shoot for to get a comprehensive plan for that property.
I mean, a plan for that property would not preclude keeping Camp Canine and
Absolutely.
Other good neighbor business.
Right.
That's correct.
That. It's not like they're getting booted, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but I remember specifically asking the petitioner when they were Camp Canine were they aware of when the expiration date of the temporary use was, and they were. So again, we're extending it. Pardon?
I remember you asking that.
Yeah, I asked that question because it was very concerning that you were investing all that money. So I don't think that anyone here is saying that we want to shut that business down or anything like that. We just. Oh, hey, go ahead.
There's one other element of the draft ordinance in front of you that I should point out. When the temporary uses first came into play, in addition to the outside date for expiration, there was also a 5-year limit for any use. And this draft ordinance is removing that 5-year period and just having it hitched to the ultimate extension date that you're granting. And one of the other things to note is that when we have approved these temporary uses, we have also incorporated in those ordinances expiration dates that this would eclipse. So you'll see that the ordinance also includes a provision that effectively amends all of those ordinances by pushing the date out.
Yeah.
That's one of the horizons for us. You know, if we have someone who pops up and says, oh, put a car dealership in here, it's gonna take at least 18 months to get approvals and permits and so on and so forth. So that gives them an additional,
Time.
it's 3 years from now. So,
It can also give the canine a motivation to encourage the owners to get moving. If they have if we're granting 18 months instead of 36, it gives an incentive to the business owners to start working or motivating the owners to get moving on permanency.
Yeah, a permanent plan that presumably could include any or all of the businesses that are there.
Yeah.
yeah. And based upon how thorough the gentleman who owns K9 is, and evidenced by what he came to us with, it's documented, he had a business plan. And
Yes.
it could very well be that the plan is, if the revenues are X at date certain, then we're gonna need more room.
Right.
Or then we're gonna need to buy it, but who knows? Who knows what the plan, I don't know what the business plan is, but
I know it's a good one.
I would suspicion he knows, you know,
Yeah.
so.
So he's invested considerable sums of money in his business. Do I understand correctly that there will not come a day where we'll tell him, sorry, you can no longer be here?
That's not our plan, that wouldn't be my plan,
Intention, I think,
No.
yeah.
what I'm hearing is staff recommending an intention to kind of like get a permanent thought there versus
We
continuing to,
needed that development team to come to the table to tell us what their intents are there. And they've got to plan it out, there's no doubt about it, what their intentions are with that property so we can reasonably address the remaining area of the TIF and the adjoining economic development. So we have a plan. There's nothing worse than doing economic development and community development ad hoc and fly by the seat of the pants. It doesn't do us any good. And we've done that with residential where we've been successful. We should have the same approach on our economic development where we turn around and formulate a strategy and find businesses that complement businesses so that we can ensure not only the success of those businesses and the longevity of those businesses, but the success of the village as well.
conceptually that makes sense. It's like if you're building a team at work,
Mm-hmm.
you want a variety of skill sets that work together.
Chris, you've been quiet, do you have any comments?
I don't think anything, prohibits the developer from coming to us with a plan that either keeps or kicks out campaign night. I don't think it's in our control, so I'm all for the extension. 18 months is fine to me.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly.
Second.
For approval,
18 months.
18
For what
months
period?
extension.
18 months.
18 months,
18 months.
yeah. Seconded by trustee O'Reilly, trustee O'Connor.
both those.
Roll call?
Trustee O'Reilly?
Both of them, yeah, thank you.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor? Trustee Borowski?
Aye.
Trustee Kristmeyer?
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci?
So I prefer 36, 18 is better than 0, so I,
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Dr. Levin. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Okay, yep, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the village engineers report. Village Engineer Perry, you're gonna take on this section?
So the engineer's report is in the board packet. There's a couple items I want to highlight tonight. The first is the Stemple parking lot. The remaining construction item is to widen the access on Old McHenry Road. We've been waiting for Lake County DOT to issue the permit for that, and I'm told that that is imminent to be issued. I did put in 1B. There's a strike affecting the aggregate suppliers in the area. Aggregate, stone, which is used for road base, but also used in concrete and also asphalt. And a big portion of the access widening is the concrete curb. So There may be some delays in that, but I hadn't got that far with the conversations with Geske yet. They're still kind of waiting this local 150 strike out before they confirm if it's going to impact their schedule or not. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Jeff, I have a question on the central lot. Which, as I recall, we wanted to put conduit in there to enable electric vehicle charging stations at some point in time. What would the next steps be to understand what those options are? I mean, is that you, is that us asking, or where does that sit? Just to understand what choices we may have for that.
Are we talking about types of EVs? ECVs, is that what we're talking about?
Well, a higher speed charging than the regular cord in the wall, kind of.
We're gonna need village staff to,
Yeah, we've already started pulling information on what are being used in other communities and who are the most popular. So obviously, you would hope the most successful, so we're pulling that data already.
Okay.
And we've got that, we've got our new intern also working on that as well. A non-paying intern.
A good kind.
I like that one.
In your manager's report?
It's just something we're doing, a little bit something we're doing.
While parenthetically, I was in a meeting last night, and a lady named Barbara Flick talked about a community who had cables, which we thought we were laying, now we're not, that you can lease those, whatever wires they put through them, you can lease them to like phone companies, data centers, whatever. They pay you money every month to do that. If we had just put the fiber out there. Well, we need to do that on the projects going forward, period, so there's no forgetting. It's not that much.
I'm not fully tracking on that, which,
Oh,
that's, oh, God, yeah.
We thought we had a carrying,
Right.
Yeah, we talked about.
we definitely talked
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
For RPC.
But,
but
can we,
it's supposed to be both.
when do you think we could have that we could have that discussion or information?
On the charging stations, we've been working with Trustee Michaud on it, and I get a better feel for it towards the end of this week when I meet with, we've got our weekly meeting with staff and the intern.
I was just like, could we do that in August and have a conversation so that?
Oh, I think that's reasonable, absolutely.
Pardon me?
As long as sound.
I think that's absolutely reasonable.
Thank you.
Jeff, you wanna continue?
Okay, moving on. The road maintenance program, not much update since 2 weeks ago at the board meeting, but the contractor is still looking to get all the restoration, pavement striping done. They had, last week, they told us by the end of the month, but since it's the 28th and I don't see that happening, didn't see that happen today, I've got my doubts whether they get that done, but we're still pressing on them to complete that work. The next item, number 5 on the report, is the potential Village Hall expansion. Just wanted to comment on June 16th, the well at Village Hall was pulled out of the well casing just to kind of inspect it, see what it was actually was. Let me back up and just say that first, but then also what the condition of it was. Lo and behold, there was a hole in the pump housing itself, and it was pumping, but not very efficiently. And it was replaced with village manager's authorization, and a larger pump was put in, 1/2 horsepower, which would be large enough to service any of the proposed Village Hall expansion options that have been discussed to date.
Half or 1.5?
You hear that?
1.5 horsepower, right?
What's
The
that?
horsepower, what's the horsepower of the pump?
1/2 horsepower.
1/2 horsepower.
Or no, excuse me, the old was 1/2 horsepower, the new is 3/4.
3/4.
Okay.
Did we save it for popularity?
We took a picture for posterity.
I didn't hear you say that again.
We took a picture to document what it looked like, and then disposed of it.
Do you know how old it was?
I do not know that.
No, it was ugly.
All right, continue,
Okay,
Jeff, please.
the Robert Parker Coffin Road Force Main project, this is the Lake County project, was substantially complete. They had all the asphalt in by Strawberry Fest, so I do appreciate the work that they did on that to accommodate the village's request to make that as safe as possible for pedestrians. And then the last thing I wanted to just highlight on is number 24. This is the berm at the Grove Country Club. Everything has been approved by both our office and the village forester, except the grass on the berm needs to reach a density of 70% as required by the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance. And once that is reached, that project will be closed out.
Why hasn't it reached it yet? Because of you've had all the rain, do you know?
I would only be guessing and speculating on that. Could be bad seed, could be, topsoil was good, but not great. My guess is it had to do with the quality of the seed.
So doesn't that mean that they're gonna have to put more grass seed in there?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
When are we going to get the cost, the expense of this whole thing? I had asked several meetings ago for an accounting of what this whole thing cost us. We don't have to wait for the grass to grow, do we?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Jeff, continue.
And that's the end of the items that I wanted to highlight tonight. If there's any questions, happy to answer them.
What's, anything new on Omen?
Yes.
Demolition?
I went out to the hearing on July 12th. That was at Mundelein. I'm sorry, June 12th, thank you. That was at Mundelein because it appeared the attorney for the property owner was delaying the process of moving this forward. And they were going to make a claim that they were going to rehab the existing buildings and start a greenhouse business again. I talked.
Those buildings?
Yes. I had discussion with the village attorney. Village attorney quickly reminded us and the property owner that a special use was allowed for that property, and that special use has expired, and that they would have to turn around and reapply for a special use if that's what they were going to do and go through the process. There was also some requirements with the Briarcrest PUD, which required that buildings revert back to, it was supposed to residential lots as it's zoned. We presented the letter to their attorney. Their attorney has now said that they will be getting up something formal saying that they will withdraw their attempt to make them greenhouses, and they're going to go ahead and demo. They were also fined by the administrative hearing officer. She levied fines against them, and $1,200 on that one. It's the second set of fines that have been levied against them, and they were presented with further notice of violations when the hearing is over. So I had reached out to their attorney today, asking them for a status update because they were supposed to get back to me within 15 days, today being 14, as to how they were going to proceed with the demolition and what additional permits they were going to apply for. So fire's been lit under them. The hearing officer has lost her patience and has conveyed that, and has strongly encouraged them to work with the village to find a solution and find it fast.
Has there been any development interest?
On that property? a company, a developer had reached out asking how the board would feel about mixed-use development on that property, had a capital backer, and has not come forward with any plans. Suggested to him that sit down and do a concept meeting, just like we do with our other developers, and kind of get a sense of where they want to go. That's the only person that has come. It's Compass, it's a Compass Development Group, but not tied to Compass Realty. It's another group. And that was literally the week before the hearing. So July 7th, somewhere in there, July 5th. But nobody else has approached.
There been any interest in the South 15? Any inquiries?
Dr. Levin asked if there been any interest in the South 15.
There has been interest in the South 15. Concepts have been presented to the board. The board had looked at some of the density issues. I have gone back and asked the Village of Mundelein to put together some concepts for us to share with the board to see what needed to be tweaked or what was acceptable. And that once we have those tied up, we will make them available to any developer who would be interested in taking a look at the property. I think that's the next.
Do those have a schedule?
I'm sorry.
The concepts from Mundelein?
I just got the first batch.
Okay.
So.
Regarding the greenhouses, do we have the ability to
Since the South 15 bookends Sunset Grove and then this other piece, there may be some concepts to incorporate the general trend subject to the restrictions of the village, where you now have basically 45 acres between 15 and the 15 acres across the street. Omen is 15 acres, is that correct?
No, 36.
Okay, so it's at least 15. So to put.
At least.
I'm not sure what he just said.
Yeah,
I think he's thinking, I heard, you might need to repeat that, Dr.
I think what I heard it say,
Sandwiching Sunset Grove with
With
two
the
developable
two.
properties.
yeah, you can bookend it, can do a lot more, so.
So we're looking at the concept.
So, thanks, Dr.
Great.
Levin, for those comments.
What I'm waiting for, to your question, Trustee Kritzmeyer, is I've got the aerial view, more or less, and now I'm looking for some elevations, because trustees had made comments that it looks like a barracks, or it looks, you know, and to get a better feel for it, we need to see some elevations. So
Is that the one that took her house out? Never mind.
It was the storage shed for the back.
I forgot that's where you're at.
Can we go back to the greenhouses?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's clear that this guy is not operating in good faith. Do we have the ability to progressively increase fines over time for inaction?
We have a cap on what the ordinance allows, and then it's it goes to the administrative hearing officer.
We can always change the ordinance, right?
I don't know if there's a statutory limitation on that. Is there, Vic?
I don't know.
On the, in terms of our ability to penalize them, I mean, we have to give them notice, and it would be from the point of notice forward. We wouldn't be able to reach back, but the time for the use has expired long ago. I mean, it's been vacant or non-operating for far more than 12 months, and that's the time frame within which any approval would expire.
On the fines, can we go higher than the $750, Vic? Is there a statutory limitation on that?
We cannot. We are not home rule, but it is per violation per day, and we may be able to identify multiple violations on the site that exist. And so, you know, if there are 5 different code provisions that are not followed, then that would be what? I should have picked a better number. Yeah, $3,750, $3,750 per day, and then that would repeat. But we'd have to identify those violations, and then we would have to get a determination from the ALJ that it was a violation.
How much of that 31 acres is bad soils and floodplain? Anybody have an approximate idea?
What's the question, Dr. Levin?
How much of the 31 acres, Omen controls 31 acres, that's 31 acres of dirt there, is that correct? Did I hear that number before?
36.
36.
36.
Of the 36, how much is bad soils or floodplain?
Bad soils, what kind of soils?
You know, soils that can't allow vertical construction, soils that don't allow construction on it, or floodplain.
We have no idea. No, we don't know. So,
Okay,
It's high ground, so it's kind of on a hill.
yeah.
okay. No floodplain,
Well, any other, go ahead.
there's no
Any
floodplain
other,
on that property?
is there a floodplain on the property?
I'd have to defer to Jeff.
Jeff, are you aware?
No, no floodplain on that property. I just looked it up.
Yeah, I'm just shocked you're not getting tremendous interest with that situation.
I wanted to put 200 townhomes there.
But let's get back, so let's get back to the agenda here if we can. Any other questions for Jeff? Any other questions for Jeff?
Nope. Oh, he's just gonna need to talk about.
Jeff is, and we're not letting Jeff go. He's not off the hook here. Not at all. He's gonna lead the next part, but can we move on to the next, agenda item? This is what you've all been waiting for. It's discussion and consideration of a traffic calming options and tests for Checker Road. So, Jeff, I am going to turn this over to you, but I know that a few meetings ago, we asked you to come back with a plan to test out a choker versus a speed hump and give us several options that, you know, that we could measure, get some empirical data on the success of each, and I believe you're gonna go through a plan with us on how that can be done and applicable costs, right?
Yep. Okay,
Take it away.
So yeah, just to kind of recap, the last discussion was about the traffic calming devices and, you know, how do we move this forward, and what does it look like to do some beta testing to test different traffic calming devices and measures? What's the cost of that, and what's the sequence of it? So there's a memo in the board packet, and we outlined steps 1 through 9 and I'll just go through it. The first is to get some baseline data as far as vehicle volume and speed, both for a 24-hour period and then also for peak hours. So that's why we want to count cars for a 24-hour period. And then footnote number 1, you know, we've got this is done with 3 sets of tube counters, so that way you can get also speed for vehicles, you know, crossing each tube. So the initial setup and getting what was referred to as the baseline data, those traffic counts, to count those, process those, and formalize a report. We had a cost of $2,400 for that. The remaining is the beta test of the different options. The number 2 on the memo is the beta test of electronic speed display signs. These are similar to what the Village of Killdeer has. They've got 2 signs. You mount them on a post and they flash your speed. I found out that those post-mounted cameras, the Village of Killdeer had purchased a data package with that, and they're able to capture speed and vehicle volume with those. So I also talked with the Village of Killdeer just to see if they would be interested, willing, and otherwise amenable to partnering with the Village of Long Grove to borrow those on a trial basis and use those. Chief Belinsky over at the Village of Killdeer is very amenable to that. He did mention to me that there's a lot of requests in the Village of Killdeer to use those post-mounted signs. So, and you know, he did let me know that if the Village of Killdeer is using them, there's requests. You know, we'll have to find a 2-week period for Long Grove to use them. You know, they're their signs. They'll use them on their roads first, but certainly willing to work through that. So setting those up for a 2-week period, partnering with the Village of Killdeer, cost of $0 for that. The Village of Long Grove would not need to buy any counters or any of those signs. which is a great savings because I found out the village of Kildare spent about $10,000 on both of those. So that's certainly a great savings and option.
And we would have access to the data too
Yep,
that
yep,
comes with the program? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, and then after those, the post-mounted speed signs are removed, we'd recommend getting another 24-hour traffic count to see what the traffic pattern is after the removal of the sign that's traffic control device. We recommend leaving all the tubes in place while we do this. So getting the data, it doesn't require reinstallation of the tubes. So getting the second round of 24-hour traffic data counts is $750, so significantly less than number one above. Moving on to number 4, we recommend waiting a couple weeks after the traffic counts are done, just to kind of normalize the traffic patterns in the area, and then purchase a few water-filled Jersey barriers to beta test a temporary traffic choker. We would work with Ela Township to install these, much like they did at the bridge while the cover was not in place. And as we talked about and mentioned in previous meetings, the cost of that would be approximately $1,500. Number 5, during the choker, at a cost of $750, an optional 24-hour count could be completed. This is not included with the post-mounted speed signs, since those are capturing this data, but while the choker's in place, getting the 24-hour traffic counts would be recommended by our office. Then after the temporary choker is removed, get traffic counts as well. That's similar, $750. And then number 7 on the memo, wait 2 weeks for the traffic to normalize after the traffic choker has been removed. And this is the one that would be the most costly, but purchase 2 temporary speed tables to be installed on Checker Road. One 1,300 feet east of the intersection of Schaefer, and the other 700 feet east of the intersection. So going back to some of the previous discussions, if you have the memos or remember the maps, those are locations 2 and 3. Again, we'd recommend putting those in place for 2 weeks. Number 8 would be getting traffic counts while the speed tables are in place, similar to getting counts for the temporary choker. We recommend getting that data. And then once the speed tables are removed, get the 24-hour traffic counts to determine what effect the speed tables had on driver behavior. So that just kind of outlines the process. Bill, I see that you're adding the numbers together. I did that, and everything together would be a cost of $17,650. As I mentioned, the speed tables is 10,000 of those dollars. So as I said, it was significant, and over half of that. So with that, I'll give it back to you, Bill, for the next part of the discussion.
Yeah, thanks for that review. Why don't we start with just going around the horn? What do you think of this concept for testing and what's outlined here? And I'll start with Trustee Borowski, since you're taking notes.
Notes, but I don't want to share them with you because they're mostly just pictures and doodles, but.
Oh, geez.
Well, it's true. Jeff, I have a question for you, sir. How do you measure, you keep using the word effectiveness. How do you measure effectiveness? What is our target metric, and how do you measure to that target? Like, at what point is effective reached, and what is that goal and target in terms of some metric. I mean, 0 cars obviously is the easy answer, right? But what do we consider, what are we measuring? What's the metric? What's the goal? And how do we measure success?
Well, I would go back to some of the goals and that, and why we're actually doing this. The concerns were, vehicles, volume and vehicle speed. The tube counters, they will give us speed data. So reducing the speed on the road, if all the counts bear that occurs with the traffic calming device, that's a measure of success. Then I would also, the volume of the cars out there, is that going to go up? Is that going to go down? That is also something that we would look at to see what's going on. And then also, I would say that success if Manager Jackson's phone doesn't ring off the hook during these beta tests, that would be a success as well. I'm sorry, just kidding.
Well, those are not very tangible, Jeff. I mean, we know speed's gonna go down if you put something in people's way, and we know volume's gonna go down if you block them long enough, but how do we know good enough is good enough? What kind of target numeric data or what kind of numeric targets do you have? How do you determine what's the right speed? I mean, we gotta post it at 30. What if we come in and go, hey, average is 37, is that good enough? Does that solve the problem or doesn't it? How do we know? That's what I'm trying to get to. I mean, what is good enough? I get it. Residents' complaints was one measurable, clearly, right, and one aspect, but at what point is good enough? I mean, what are you trying to get to? What's the goal? I mean, what are we trying to reduce the speed by right now? And what is the right number of cars on that road during 1 hour during the morning rush hour?
You've got a lot of questions.
I do. I've been driving this path 22 years. I've seen before COVID, I've seen after COVID, I've seen recently. So I have a lot of empirical data, both going around this intersection and using the cut through. I mean, I see it every day, both ways. So I'm just trying to understand how we measure it. And like the school bus issue, right? Like, how do you measure success in the school bus issue when the school buses aren't even in session right now?
Well, that was gonna be my question,
Okay.
on how does this calendarize relative to both school year and likely traffic? A lot of places downtown are not bringing people to office on Mondays and Fridays, so
Right.
one would hope all these measures are Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
There's no traffic on Fridays, at least not that I can tell. So going that road on Fridays, I mean, I'm sure the residents are gonna tell me differently, I'm sure, because they see it every day and they can sit there and count it. But to me, I just empirically, I'm just trying to understand what the metrics are. Jeff, what is good enough? What's the goal? And how do you measure that? How many cars per hour, per what, and what's the right speed limit for that? Are we trying to get to 30, 32? What's the number?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, the volume number that's the more difficult of the two. This is a collector road, by definition of a collector, it's designed to move traffic and designed to have more cars on it than, a local subdivision road. The speed, the speed limit of a road is dictated by, the design of the road, both, the geometry, both horizontally and vertically. And the speed metric, my target would start with what's called the 85th percentile. And what you do is when you design a road, you're looking for 85% of the cars on that road to be within reasonable range of the speed limit. I think it's a 5 mile an hour buffer each way for the 85th percentile, but the baseline data, is traffic right now at that 85th percentile. And then all the counts when, during or after, any of the beta tests, does that make a marked difference and get us closer in line with that 85th percentile? that's a good metric that the professional transportation engineers use on that. And that's also kind of the metric that kind of going back a couple years that IDOT used when the village asked to reevaluate the speed limit on Route 53 after their project. You know, they're looking at construction speeds, the speed limit, and that same 85th percentile. And that's, you know, what they used to ultimately determine that they weren't going to change the speed limit.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that insight.
I'll just keep going around the room. Trustee Kritzmeyer?
I kind of layered in my question about it. I'm in favor of doing this kind of sequential testing, that idea, before we commit to anything that is permanent. So conceptually, I'm in favor of that. I'm not a professional engineer, I'm not the one, so if this is the beta test, I would be in favor of that. I do think that the practical thing about calendaring first of the school year and, you know, try to keep all of those measurements as similar as possible, except for what we're doing to the road.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riley?
I wish I could wave a magic wand and slow people down, but I don't have a wand, and I think people are doing what they're doing, and we can do all of the beta testing, all of the machinations we want, and when it's done, people will go back to what they were doing. And I think we have a speeding problem everywhere. And I don't want to say it's hopeless, but it probably is hopeless to try to change people, what they're doing and why. It's got to be some deep psychological reason why people are driving the way they are. And shocking, sometimes I find myself driving that way too. And that's why I, a week or so ago, asked Greg if we could get one of those signs that we could move around the village, if for no other reason than to remind us, gee, this is a 25 or a 30, and I'm going 34. That kind of thing. And so I was curious to what Jeff said cost was. And I'm wondering if we can rent them.
Oh, those speed tables at the
Yeah.
$10,000? That seems to be the,
No, the flashing.
So your speed is.
oh, your speed is,
Your
okay.
speed is.
Oh, okay, got it.
And,
Just loaning them to us.
well, but
No, I'm talking a week here and a week there and a week there and move them around the village.
It's funny you bring that up because Jeff and I were talking this afternoon. The blinking traffic control item he was talking about, and I said, you know, I live off of Long Grove Road. I'm on that road, I don't know how many times a week. For the last week or 10 days, they had a flashing sign on the right side of the road when you're eastbound. And invariably, you know, the people in front of me were doing whatever they needed to be doing, and they saw that flashing line. Invariably, they would slow down, and they would get close to the 25, because it's posted 25, right? And they'd find, they'd get through it, and then after a while, they'd pick up where they were previously. And those blinking signs have been up for 2 weeks. And this morning, I was on the road, and I thought, the car in front of me was just flying. And I looked, and it's like, it took the sign down. It took the sign down. And Jeff said, when I told him that story, he said, the police chief in Killdeer told him the same thing a couple days ago. You know, they temporarily halt unthinking behavior, or thinking, but whatever. But once it's gone, and I think it's an embarrassment thing. I think people don't want the guy behind them to see that they were going 50 and a 25, you know.
Or they don't want to get a ticket in the mail. There's a radar attached to that.
If there's something in there, it's just that plate, you know.
But I think her point is not using it so much for measurement as for deterrent, and the idea that if it's random,
Right, but a reminder. Sometimes we just need a reminder for good behavior.
Jeff, you said the two machines were 10,000. Is that 10,000 each or 10,000 for both?
I'm looking to confirm, but it was 10,000 for both.
Okay, so 5,000 each.
And I thought.
Yeah, and
we
the
only-
the major driver of that cost is the data package. The data package, they collect the data and it goes to the cloud, and they also sort that data, so that when you download it, it's not just raw data that you have to, parse out and pay somebody to, massage it and, otherwise interpret it for you.
So it might not be 5,000 for one.
So you don't need the data.
Yeah, but the data tells you when you get the bulk of the traffic and how fast it was going.
Yes, but my thought is reminding people for good behavior. So I don't need to know whether they needed it or not.
Well, they do for law enforcement purposes.
Well, yes, I get that, but that wasn't my purpose.
I think part of this beta test, though, would then be saying, that's the first thing, and saying, okay, how much does that change volume and speed, whether we have a target or not, you at least have a measurement, and then you can look and say, versus Jersey barrier versus speed table, and say, if this one works the best, then that would be the one, and you don't need the data package, you're right.
So let me ask, I didn't hear, over on this side, would you be supportive of this proposal? Rita? Yes?
I thought we owned Jersey barriers already.
We do own Jersey barriers, so where are they?
Why would we?
That's a good question, Jeff.
They're at the water treatment plant. There's only 14 of those. We estimate that we'll have to double those to have enough for the traffic choker. To think of it, we've got enough for the angled parts of the temporary choker from when the bridge cover was there, but we need the pieces that parallel the road for the choker. We didn't need those for the bridge since, the bridge was there. Trustee Tanucci, just getting back to your question, the post-mounted speed signs, I did get a quote from All Traffic Solutions for 2 of those. For 2 is $9,949.36. I rounded up to a round number for the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Down for the budget.
Ken, what's your thinking on this?
So I added up all of the individual time durations and came up to 12 weeks total, 3 months. Does that sound right for the whole study?
Yep.
And we thought it would be best to not run it during the summer when the school buses are out.
So that was gonna be my next question. School starts again, believe it or not, in about, 7 weeks. So do we do half the test during the summer and half the test when school is in session? Or do we wait another 6 weeks or 7 weeks to start this and then run it through the end of the year, basically?
That was my comment. I would not start in the summer. I would, if you really want to figure out if something works, you got to make everything as similar as possible.
I agree.
Now, there is a question online from Allison. Do you mind if I take that? Allison Lacasio, you have it's a thumbs up. Okay, got it. All right. All right, I take that as a positive then. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm in favor of doing this. We should talk about the timing, but, yeah, the concept thing.
I'm just gonna add one additional thought to it that's not on here, but, there is a resident, that's online tonight. I won't call him out, but he had called me this week and said, what about lowering the speed limit to 25? Is that a possibility, an option as well? That could be done after.
If we don't own all of the road, can we do that? Because we don't own all the road.
Just that one little section. But I mean, that could be done in conjunction with this or as an additional item.
When you establish a speed limit as it is now, haven't you done a study on prevailing speed? And so to artificially lower it is counterintuitive to do. You get a bad result from doing that. If you go too low, you're gonna encourage people to speed.
Or to just follow habit too.
Yeah.
But Jeff, isn't there another element here? You were talking about the road, right? And that also drives the speed too, right?
Yeah, that drives the speed. And, I just wanted to kind of add a comment to the lowering the speed limit. That could be done by ordinance, and Vic, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, since, it's a local road. The one thing to consider is, lowering it, 5 miles an hour would probably be okay. Where I'm going is if you take 30 and you lower it to 15, there's a chance that doesn't get enforced if somebody contests that in a court. I've seen that happen before as well, because, a judge would say it's a collector road and the speed limit is artificially too low. And it gets thrown out on that.
Yeah, as a non-home rule community, we have some restrictions through the IDOT trap vehicle code that will limit the speed that we can reduce it to. And part of it depends on the density of the road, the residential density along the road. And my guess is that we may be able to justify 25, but I think 30 may be the lowest we can go and still retain consistency with the statutory standard.
Okay, that answers that.
What is it on Long Grove Road? Sorry.
There's a section of it,
25, right?
there's a section of it that's not in Long Grove.
Only 25 and normal is 30 when you hit the choker.
How did Bill Deere be able to lower it to 25?
And nobody will take it anyway.
No, you go 45.
I know.
So I'm sensing that there's enough support for somebody to make a motion for this, to do this pilot. Moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by
I'll second.
that's trustee Kritzmeyer. That's a roll call.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
No.
Trustee O'Reilly.
No.
Trustee Panucci.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Can I address two financial issues?
Yes.
First of all, the money that would be utilized for this, there has been money set aside in the budget, but if an option such as a choker, which was estimated at $25,000, be presented to the board, it would have to be accompanied by an amendment to the budget, because we won't have enough money in there with the beta test. So I just want to make sure that's on everybody's radar. So if we have to come back for an amendment, at least we know why.
We wouldn't have that data till next year.
Could be.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Days a long way away.
We're going to keep ourselves moving here. Discussion and consideration of Midwest Sustainability Group request for additional funding in the amount of $10,160. Robert Clipp, the Executive Director, is here tonight.
Well, I have a little update, which has got to do with funding request. And did I talk about CMAP last time? And I think I forgot that, and I was halfway home when I remembered it. So CMAP, you probably already are familiar with this. They have delegated authority on federal funding for transportation. And they have this regionally significant project list, which I'm sure you guys all know. And there's like two columns in it. One is constrained projects and one's unconstrained projects. So the Route 53 project is still on there as the Tri-County Access Project in the unconstrained column. They are currently doing a federally mandated revision to their onto 2050 plan, and they're reviewing their regionally significant project list. Stacy Marsh and Overland and I both gave comments, and we thought they should pull this project out because there's a sitting task force to decide what to do with the property. It remains a threat to all of us if that remains on that list. So we're asking them to take it off. They're out for public comment over the summer. So I will email Greg, I'll email you with the information to send to the village. I think that might be something perhaps to ask residents to give public comment, asking them to pull that out if that's how you feel. That was one thing. We also have, did I mention we have petitions to the governor going on? We are petitioning the governor. I hesitate to use this word because people take it the wrong way. In our business, we call it the target. The target is the person, it's not creepy. The target is the person who can give you what you want.
And so the governor has always been our top target, if you will, because he can protect us when, with the way we want, if you will, speaking of want. And so we have a petition to the governor, it's written to governor and elected officials asking them to protect, the land in the corridor. We'll also have a digital petition, that can be shared, and I'll share that with you. We had a great meeting in Great Lake last night, Trustee O'Connor was there with us, we had about 40 people, which was our goal, and we picked up another 10 volunteers. 25% of the people that were there decided to volunteer, which is great, so things are going well. That's my only update.
Thank you. Any questions?
So you're not asking for money?
No, she is, yeah.
Okay, since I'm here, I thought I'd add in a few updates.
She's actually using the money in pursuit of the goal we asked her to.
So I gave you, the one with the, I don't know if you have color or not, the one with the red on it. I thought you'd like to see what happened with the last round of money. The work we do is so unpredictable. So the two things that happened that really threw us off course from what we projected, one was that we were asked to give the presentation from the whole environmental community to the task force. So that was a lot of work going into that. We didn't see that coming. The second one was the illness and the ongoing illness of the full-time paid organizer that is supposed to be working on this job, and the fact that we've had to take over his job too. So we went really over budget on that. It's been, we could predict that. He is incommunicado. I don't think he's coming back in the near term. He doesn't even respond to anyone. So we are making this proposal assuming for the foreseeable future that we're gonna be doing his work as well. So, and I gave you a list of the 4 reasons why it's really hard to project. We don't know when the task force is gonna vote. We don't know what their recommendation is gonna be, and if there'll be a general assembly vote in the veto session. We don't know if he's coming back, and we don't know, right now, labor is quiet, and we don't know if it's gonna stay that way, or not. So, all those things make it really hard to predict.
I would think the closer to the election, the louder labor.
Maybe, but they have a constitutional amendment that will be on the general election ballot, to lock in the right to work. I think that's what it's called. So they'll be pretty busy, I think, with that, I would assume.
Yeah.
I'm usually not very subtle, and I would just say, if not you, who? I mean, is Bill gonna do this, is Craig gonna do this? You need to do this, and we need to bring the money to you, because if anybody is the recipient of a good outcome, it will be Long Grove.
Thank you for this. Well, we can have that conversation too, but.
Yeah.
But let's go around the horn here. Dan?
I agree with Bobby.
Okay, that was easy. Chris?
What's the funding, share between the municipalities? Are we just it? Is this it? Okay, I thought.
So you're getting money from other places as well.
Oh, yeah, we have other funding, right,
Right.
but not.
No other municipalities.
Theoretically, from open land.
Well, they're on our team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sierra Club's on our team, and Lake County Audubon's on our team.
You need a motion?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess unless Kent
I
or,
agree with Bobby and.
okay,
Oh,
all
I
right.
agree with Bobby.
Okay, so moved by trustee O'Reilly,
Second.
seconded by trustee O'Connor. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly?
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor? Aye. Trustee Borowski?
Aye.
Trustee Chris Meyer?
Aye.
Trustee Janutus?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
And then, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update too.
So we're gonna move into the village president and trustee reports. I don't really have one. I mean, we did the village hall tour to the Deer Park Village Hall. Maybe Kent can do it under his report. They have a very nice facility. Spent $1.5 million on it.
What's the name of that barn? They've got a barn, we've got a barn. They've got an old White House, or they got a new White House, we got an old White House. The similarities are amazing between the two
Yeah.
villages.
So I don't know if there's really,
Nothing yet.
nothing yet there.
Should we consolidate?
What was that?
Should we consolidate?
Just for the office
They
space.
got sales revenues from shopping centers.
Yeah, I mean, Being
We
that,
also have very expensive police departments,
Yeah.
fire departments,
Yes,
and,
they do.
and on and on and on.
well, Deer Park doesn't, right? So, Deer Park uses the Lake County Sheriff. They're very
Yes.
similar to us.
There are a
So.
lot of similarities.
Kildare does, yeah. Yeah, it was very similar to us, so.
And the facility is both functional and, should we say, understated. So it's a very nice facility, but it's not over the top nice.
Yeah.
And something similar to that, maybe on a smaller scale, I think would serve us very well.
What's on our shopping list of must-have and nice-to-have?
2 bathrooms.
Seriously, I would love to see that in.
2
our,
bathrooms,
you know,
a larger boardroom,
Yeah,
to
Private
accommodate.
offices.
Yeah, I'd say 2 private offices and some conference space. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, they had, literally, to Ken's point, they had the bare minimum, but it was functional.
so 2 bathrooms, 2 private offices, shared office space, a larger boardroom and a conference room?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing, I'm just, like, I think that should be written down for everybody.
If you go back to the plans that you roughed out, has it all,
Yeah.
has everything in it.
There's 4,000 square feet about, right?
Mhm.
Yes, yeah.
And if we were to scale that down, it would be.
I had, with the projection of that schematic I put together, was somewhere about 2,800, but I think we'd want a little bit of room. The other issue that is a nagging issue that continues to cause us problems is the off-site storage of our files. Every time, and we probably average 10 to 15 FOIAs a week. 10 to 15 FOIAs a week that we have to turn around and get out to Arlington Heights, have them deliver, locate, deliver, and then return. And we're paying a cost for that, not only for the square foot and storage on a monthly basis, but for each one of the deliveries.
Can I ask a question, though, about that? Now, what are villages doing today? Are they digitizing it?
That's exactly what we need to
Exactly
do.
what we should spend money on.
Yeah, what we need to do,
It's the
yeah.
transition.
So, I mean, do we need the space, right? So that's the question.
Well, there will be some storage that we're gonna need. It's inevitable. I don't think it'll be, I agree. We need to, there has not been a history of record disposal where you get the certificate from the Secretary of State saying that you can go ahead and dispose of these records or whatever. There are things that definitely will have to be retained. There are things that will not be able to be digitized. But overall, I mean, they hired some part-time high school kids in Deer Park to start scanning plans and documents to turn around and digitize everything. And worked out very well. She said it took a little bit of time, but they finally got everything that they needed to digitize.
Do they have a basement?
They do not.
So would that be wise, possible?
That's what we originally
Well, we talked to
about,
them,
was putting if you put.
If we expanded here, right.
Where we put that additional room, we put basement in there.
Always good to have, documents down below ground.
Well,
I get it.
I know, I mean, you can,
We have a high water table here, right?
no, you can do backup pumps and everything else like that, so I'm just, sorry.
or you could fortify the upstairs and put them upstairs.
Yeah,
Or you could spend money on the technology so we don't have to keep touching it.
yeah.
This is true.
Digitize it.
We could look at an option of another thing. 2 things I thought about and happened today is because I was out at the pump station today, is to turn around and look at acquiring adjacent land to see what might be possible over there. The other thing is the fire department. I had a meeting on a number of issues with the fire chief this morning. They're going to relocate. They're in discussions for securing the property across from Katy Corner from Harbor Chase, next to the crossings over there.
What property is that?
It is some of it's wetlands behind it, yeah, but there are buildable space on there for what they would be looking for. They're looking to build an 18,000 square foot facility for 5 bays. Their entire board has given them the green light to go ahead and forward with it.
What are we gonna do with this?
That's what they wanted to talk to us about. Were we interested in taking a look at the firehouse, potentially taking the bays and making them a boardroom and then do a build out? And then I have some thoughts of if it was something that made sense of how we would finance it and get through it. Because it's not new construction, but it would be a remodel in the inside. There's also a timing factor involved when we have to have the ARPA funds spent, and how would that play into this? And I've given it some thought that once I look at it a little more deeply, I'd be more than happy to bring back and have a discussion with the board on it.
Then there's pros and cons too, because, you know, we want to keep this campus, if you will, right? This building and keep it in use. Doesn't everyone agree? It's historic.
My dead body comes to mind, yeah.
I was not going there, I was saying it a little differently.
But I think the
Wise to confirm those assumptions, however.
I think the concept of a community house here, for HOAs and who want to use this, and they do it all the time, there's just a number of things we can potentially toss around as ideas.
Farmers market.
The other thing is the firehouse, based on the square footage, we may be able to, how I envisioned it was potentially share that space with another organization and receive rent from that other organization. So, but again, it's the discussion happened this morning. I haven't had a chance to fully think it through.
Okay.
Huh?
I knew that was coming, I just knew that was coming, and I don't know what you're gonna do with that fire, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
I think downtown, I think we would potentially look at it as a leasable space for the downtown historic association.
I had you
We're not happy with.
I had you guys in mind.
You don't like him?
No, I think.
Aw.
This meeting's being recorded. Anyways, we'll keep ourselves going.
I have art.
Chris?
Can I add something to Ann's wish list? From my perspective, I talked to Greg before, Village Hall, we may want to consider putting in some amenities for things like Sharps Collection, which would be like a place where you store a bin indoors that would be secured at night and kind of monitored during the day. And then also,
I didn't hear you.
Sharps.
Sharps collection,
Needle collection.
Oh, you know, like.
Because, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yep, go.
It's needle collection. It's
Okay,
basically,
I didn't hear what the word.
yeah, it's
Prescription
a
drugs.
waste management kind of bin that
Oh.
people put the red containers in with the needles in them. But it would have to be kind of off by itself, away from people, but yet still observable by staff so that, you know, some drug addict doesn't come in and take all needles out or, you know, and the other one is the reuse the shoe. We didn't want to reuse the shoe here because it sort of needs a little supervision. They want to make sure shoes are sort of paired up instead of just thrown into a big bin. And on the other hand, I know nobody wants to sit next to a big bin of used shoes. So if we're going to design something from scratch, if we can keep those considerations in mind, you know, something that's observable by staff, something that's secured, but yet, you know, away from staff that they don't have to worry about like stinky shoes. But
I would add prescription drugs to that.
Yeah, we put.
oh yeah, drug collection.
Yeah, we put that in our notes from our previous discussion, but yeah.
Yeah, drug collection too would fit. That's just a mailbox.
Yeah.
Well, while you're speaking, trustee Borowski, do you have a report?
No, sir. Just an anecdote, if you indulge me. Residents of Long Grove grew up here, recently came back to visit. We're just stunned how overgrown all the roadways are in Long Grove with buckthorn and everything else. Just, so to me, I just think we need to be aware, cognizant, and think about what we should do going forward. It's not the beautiful village it used to be, it's buckthorn.
I think we underutilize the scenic corridor committee. There are people there with a lot of knowledge, and if people, younger people, would join the group and learn, it's something we could keep going, or however.
I've been asked to, by the chairs of the respective commissions and committees to put together a training session, for lack of a better phrase, or orientation session, for some of the new members. I'm doing it with the Architectural Commission. I'm going to get in touch with Commissioner Chair Sylvester. And we're going to sit down and say, okay, here are the responsibilities, remind everybody what the responsibilities of the commissions are. Where do you want to get more actively involved so I can bring that back to the board for discussion? Some things are governed by statute, like the PCZBA. Other ones, like the Architectural Commission, are a product of this body. So we're going to be able to have that discussion Jeanette Berger is one of those people I'm going to have sit down and set up a meeting with as well, because she has recently, after her most hearing, reached out to both myself and the mayor, asking questions on decisions that they need to make, and they're not comfortable in their footing. So it'll give us an opportunity to talk about the roles of that commission.
But, you know, but this is a great point, though. I mean, Rita brought it up, right, about giving that commission, having them come up with a plan, a multi-year plan of how do we clean up our scenic corridor, right?
Which is what we're also going to do with Architectural Commission on solar.
On solar, right, well, or green kinds of things. So both of those, is that the part of your meeting? I think
Yeah,
that would be
oh,
awesome. I mean, everyone, we need to give them those assignments and have that be a part of their standing meeting.
Yeah, and this issue on the buckthorn, that I can bring that back to them as well.
Greg sent a note out, I don't know who sent it to, one of the board members, but it was, should we ban buckthorn? And it's a really interesting question. At first I thought, well, how the heck are we gonna do that? But multi-year program, dedicate some financials to it so that we could find a place to grind this stuff up and put it. You know, I think if we can think through things like that over a long-term plan, I think maybe there's some validity to that.
Even if it's matching funds, you know?
Or something.
Well, yeah,
You know,
come up with all,
It's like public and private.
Right. Right, it'd have to be both, because I don't know how you do it otherwise. If everybody's not in, it's just gonna come right back, so.
yeah, if you just, I
I
mean,
think it's a great way to build community, you know, to reach out to people. You know, I talk about this all the time, we have people from all these cultures, they have a lot of knowledge. And I've had people, when we're out, had several people when we campaigned last time, ask about conservancies. You see, you know, all of that across the street is a conservancy, but you never touch it. And it's obvious they never touch it, because it's just awful.
Buckthorn.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it just does its thing, and it says, you know, does anybody, is there any way to educate people or find people, or, you know, they just don't know what to do with it. So,
And compare that to, one night, it was at the HOA meeting where Mike, Starkowitz mentioned 150 gallons of Roundup.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, good for the groundwater, right, yeah.
All right, for your meeting, Bill.
All right, so hey, let's keep us moving. Trustee Kritzmeyer?
I have, I wanted to share, if you could put that real quickly. Our water system, I promised at some point, trying to understand or really get a handle on some of the finances, and we have, bonds.
Share.
You just had it.
No, I want to share it with the public.
Oh, I see.
I can,
There you go.
I'm hoping everyone can see that, yep. Is that what you wanted to share?
Yep, absolutely. So this is our water system, and yes, Jeff has vetted it. I'm not the engineer, I'm just the drawer, or part of the drawing. The stuff listed as A is our original water system. That's like the pump and everything else, and the original distribution that went to Sunset Grove. That was financed through issuing $1 million in bonds that are externally held. And then we established an SSA, as you know, that goes to all the different property owners in various amounts. Some of those property owners chose to prepay their SSA, and so that prepayment also helped fund some of the upfront costs. And those that are not prepaying are collected every year through the SSA tax levy. And then the village also kicked in through, we didn't have a capital improvement plan at that fund, but the village kicked in. So the three financiers were that outside bond, prepayment of the SSA, and the village over all of that. That bond has been eligible to refinance since last year. We knew that. We looked at it kind of back of the envelope last year, and I don't remember, I recall we thought that might result in a savings of something around $90,000, which was a lot less than some of the others that we had looked at. We were also not in a position with staff, village staff, to really kind of move forward at last year as we were going through all of the new manager recruitment. So interest rates have moved considerably. We've also, thanks to Denise and our village manager, we've changed banks. and we have a more robust banking relationship, and that bank is interested in helping us refinance that. When I've spoken with our financial municipal advisor, he's seeing a lot of bank refinancing occurring in the municipalities because bank rates are not as tied to current markets. They're more tied to their cost of funding. And right now, they are more advantageous. Okay, so he's looked at this, high level, not in an official engagement letter, but he's looked at it high level and said, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. That makes sense. So we are having conversations with the bank. The thing is that because this initial financing had 3 different prongs, it's not just the bond, and the different properties, unlike Heron's Landing, the different properties bear different portions of the SSA tax levy. Okay, Heron's Landing, remember, everybody had like $2,000 or whatever it is a year. So we are going to move forward in trying to see if this is worthwhile. And that when I say see risk right now, their bank is putting out things like 5%, which that's better than an unrated village should expect right now in the marketplace. At that, we would see some modest savings, but given the complexities, we want to make sure that we don't have to take all of our savings and write checks to lawyers. So I just wanted to report that that's what we're doing right now. So we are looking at it. It's the responsible thing to do, but it's also, we know it's complicated. We want to make sure that we do it the right way right way regulation-wise and right way for the village's finances. So I just wanted to share that that conversation is going on. We may or may not move forward on it, but we want to really make sure that we've got a clear view of what the real, if the savings are $5,000, I would say, that's not worth the time on Greg's desk. So if you've got any questions, so that's really where we are. We're looking at, we've had a proposal from the bank. We're working with the lawyers right now to make sure, not spend a ton of money, but have them look and say, what do you think it'll cost in law? So, end of report.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you. Thanks for looking into that. Appreciate it. Trustee O'Connor. Okay, Trustee O'Reilly.
Nothing, but I would ask you to, something that I'm trying to work on, and that is gathering information that we can share with residents about drugs. And I'm looking for places that give advice on how to keep people away from drugs, to never get involved in drugs, how to break the addiction, and fentanyl. And fentanyl's a whole different story. And where's a source of information that addresses all 3 of them?
I have one. I heard of it. I didn't realize what I was going to. It was a talk at a reunion kind of thing. There's a mom in South Bend, Indiana, who lost 2 sons the same night. They had been at a graduation party, and somebody gave them a prescription drug that was laced with fentanyl. And she lost 2 kids that night, and 3 other kids at the same party required medical attention but did not die. And she's got a whole lot of stuff going on. Very much, she's a nurse, so very much on the don't take prescription drugs from, random friends at parties kind of thing. So, that's not the whole opioid crisis, but it very much is.
The fentanyl is totally different.
Right, but
it's part of.
I think this is a facet. It is not your whole answer.
Right.
And
Send it to me, because in a gathering point with it, and that's all.
Stevenson has a program too, just so you guys are aware.
Oh, yeah, Stevenson.
They had a very good program.
Okay.
Well, 2 years ago.
Yes.
The other one that I couldn't think of right now is the Stand Strong organization that I used to attend the meetings, but when COVID happened, I stopped going to them. And so are you familiar with that organization?
No.
Let me let me make a connection here too, because they have all kinds of information. I'm still on a mailing list
Super.
that I can share with you, and I'll do that after the meeting.
Does
I want to say it's Jamie
anyone-
Epstein, I believe, is the person that chairs that. I think that's her name.
Does anyone object to being a receptacle of this kind of information?
As far as sharing it or providing it, or?
Yeah.
No, not at all. They want to share they want us to help spread the information, so.
Exactly.
So they're connected, so.
Chelsea, her signs are blue background. She lost her brother to drugs, and she, for the last 4 or 5 years, has created an organization to reach out and to educate. Chelsea, I think it's Libertate, I believe. It's like right, I think she lives in Buffalo Grove.
So I'll circle back on this one too.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, trustee Tanucci?
Yeah, at the last meeting, we talked about, we are streamlining the remove and replace permit process, having online applications, reducing the fees and so on. The next step in that we're looking at is offering virtual inspections, perhaps starting with roof inspections, and then depending on how that goes, progressing to furnace, HVAC, and water heaters. So we'll have more information on that perhaps at the next meeting. I just want to let you know that that's the next thing we're looking at, virtual inspection.
Anything else?
More information next time. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, village manager's report.
The audit has begun with the call for documents, so we're working on that. Virtual inspections, I'm meeting with Ryan on Wednesday to talk over a number of issues. We're going to go out and look at some spaces in the downtown area to assist the business community. Chatterbox wants to do something with a building that they want to use for storage. We'll be meeting with people at Brothers Field. We have a zoning code violation on one of the properties that need to be addressed, and we're meeting with the property owner because it's been about 9 months and they haven't taken any action on it, so we'll be addressing that. So I'll be with Mundelein on tomorrow. Tax distribution took place today, so we got notice from the Lee County on the taxes, so that started today. I also met with the fire chief this morning, as I mentioned previously. We are putting together a joint purchasing program where we're going to take about a half a dozen local government entities, the smaller ones, and join forces together for joint purchasing for economies of scale and to see if we can get a lower price on some items that we commonly purchase. So IT equipment, services. We're talking about potentially joining into joint service contracts with private sector entities to service us. I hooked them up with Mundelein, and Mundelein is now doing the fleet maintenance for the fire department before they were going to private sector. So I was able to make that connection with Chief Segal and Mundelein, so they've just entered into an intergovernmental agreement there on that. So we're just trying to find a way to save some more money. And the last thing is, if you saw the treasurer's report, our reserve remains strong.
Yeah, no, it's good, but that's only the treasurer's report, that's only for month 1, right?
Yep.
So that's all we've got so far.
Yeah.
But you know what was interesting, now that you brought that up, like the sales tax, Illinois income tax, our share was up, and then we were positive in local use tax. So there was some, Illinois sales tax was down slightly, but it was interesting to see the Illinois income tax up and then the local use tax up for the first time, right, from our budget. So maybe we budgeted differently this year?
Well, we definitely did on local use.
But
And then we looked at income tax because we saw a higher income tax number last year as well, too, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
149% coverage, budget coverage,
we
wow.
saw such a trend up in 2020 on sales tax, we weren't sure where that was going, so we kind of sent it up and flipped it, and I think then people got up and stopped going to the grocery store, started going to the restaurant.
Speaking of sales tax, is the state suspending sales tax on food and things like that?
Well, did we ever get, how does it impact us, groceries, aren't they doing that?
They're doing
But how does it impact us?
I'd have to look, I haven't looked at.
Because we never heard back.
Supposedly, we're not impacted, but what does that mean in the real world? I don't know.
Yeah. Anything else, Greg?
No, sir.
No reason for executive session, or, does village engineer Filippini have anything he wants to share?
It's your attorney.
Nope.
All right, and
Nope,
there's no reason to
all
go in
good here.
executive session?
Insult us engineers like
What'd you say?
You called Dick a village engineer.
Oh, did I call him a village engineer? I'm sorry. Geez, thanks for catching that. All right, so, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by trustee O'Reilly, second by trustee O'Connor. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Right,
I
thank
should
you.
not look at Jeff when I talk about Vic, so, oh well.
citizen
All right, good night.
Sorry, Vic. Yep.
Conservation, you guys want a great tool to find out how to handle